Hello and welcome to Amy Hart Mum Club. In this podcast, I'll be sharing the highs and lows of being a mum, plus each week I'll be joined by a special guest and together we'll delve into their experiences of parenthood. And that's not all. This podcast is for you. Me and my gaggle of fabulous guests will be sharing tips, tricks and advice from our own journeys. Now, let me tell you about our guest today. My guest today has won Parenting Creator of the Year and she is the Muddle Through Mummy on TikTok and Instagram. It's the lovely Daisy Woods.
Oh, thanks so much. What an intro.
Daisy, thank you for joining me. Now, for
having me.
people that don't know you, how would you introduce yourself? Tell me about yourself.
So I'm a mum of two boys. I'm a content creator and I've been doing this for about 4 years now. I absolutely love what I do, sharing about parenting and lifestyle in kind of a positive, helpful way.
Yeah. Now, we'll come back to your content creation later because obviously I want to pick your brains because you are the ultimate mum creator and I love it. But let's go back. Can we talk about your journey to parenthood? Because it wasn't simple.
No, it wasn't at all. So when I met my now husband, I knew pretty quickly that he was like dad material. Do you know what I mean? And so once we moved in together, it was kind of on the cards. I don't want to say straight away. He definitely wouldn't have said that.
I'm not going to judge you. I knew after 2 dates that I was going to marry Sam.
When you know,
yeah.
you know. And so once we started that process, I guess it was just that assumption of I'd been on the pill for like 15 years, but when I stopped taking it, I'm just going to be pregnant. And that just was not my experience at all. So we went through about a year really of, that gut-wrenching thing every month, taking a test, you're not pregnant. And then I was like, okay, we should probably just check that everything's okay here. So we went to the doctor and it turned out that I had one ovary that was like twice as big as it was supposed to be. So
yeah. See, then people would think that they're like, oh, brilliant. So like twice as big, it's working twice as much. And it's like, no.
Yeah. And they didn't really give me any like answers with why it was bigger or what that meant and kind of how that was going to affect it. It was just kind of like, yeah, so you're the problem. Andy's had his tests. He's fine.
Well done, Andy.
Yeah, I was like 50% there. And then, yeah, we were on the referral for, I guess, the infertility clinic. So we were waiting for that for a long time, which it just, I don't know, it's soul destroying, isn't it? And so we tried to distract ourselves by planning a wedding that we weren't even engaged for.
Again, I'm not going to judge you. I read that, right? I booked my wedding before we were engaged.
Yeah, same.
We booked our wedding before. People think that I'm like crazy, but no, we booked our wedding before we were engaged. Yeah. Because when you know you're going to get married, these venues get snapped up very quickly.
I mean, I'd like to say, I know you definitely don't have to be married to have kids, but we were going to have kids together. We were looking at buying a house together. I feel like, a mortgage is as big a commitment these days. So it was going to happen. It did happen when I was about 20 weeks pregnant, the morning before my scan. He got down on one knee.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I think you got married before your 20 weeks scan.
Oh, no. Do you know the weird thing was that, so when we had originally booked the wedding, we booked it for, I think it was like the 2nd of June. And then when we went in and we found out I was pregnant, my due date was the 2nd of June. It's like spooky. Yeah, so it was really weird.
You're like, how quickly can you bounce back?
Yeah.
Maybe too.
There's no bouncing back.
37 weeks. How quickly?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't feel like I gave us long enough after that because we pushed it back until like the end of October. But having a 5-month-old at your wedding.
Yeah, see, I was 18. Sunny was 18 months old because what we did was we didn't plan to get pregnant. Because I thought I was going to have a lot of trouble because I've got low AMH, I'd froze my eggs and stuff. And then we got pregnant by accident. So it's great to spend all that time freezing my eggs, all 4 rounds of it. And then we also knew we were going to get married, but we were like, right, we were out in Spain for 3 weeks in September anyway. We knew we wanted to get married in September. We knew we wanted to get married in Spain. So we were like, well, we're not going to get back out here till next September.
Yeah.
And then all the venues will be gone. We took Stanley to Spain when he was 7.5 weeks old. Because we were like, we need some sun. And also Mum and Dad were already going. So we could have booked it then. But yeah, we saw this venue and we were like, yeah. And they were like, we've already got 20 bookings for the year you want to get married. And that was 2 years in advance. Yeah, so we were like, yeah, cool, book it.
Wedding venues are insane with their pre-booking. But I honestly think it was the best thing we did, like distracting myself from that. Like I said, every month, every ounce of your focus goes into getting pregnant and making babies and everything that comes with it. So it was such a good distraction. And yeah, I guess that's why it's so cliche that they say, you know, once you take your mind off it, it happens. And I know that isn't the case for so many women, but for me, it really was. And yeah, it was crazy.
It's funny though, like the whole taking your mind off things and, you know, don't think about it and then you get pregnant. People say this to me, because we're trying for baby at the moment. And without going into too much, without sounding too crude, but people say, oh, if you're not on any contraception, then you are trying. No, you're not. Like, there are graphs, there are there are windows, there are days.
Yeah.
Like, trying for a baby is a lot different to just seeing what happens. And I think there is no way you can just chill and take your mind off it, because there's only a certain number of days you can get pregnant a month. And you have to do your research and
The
about how
chances-
often, and yeah.
I don't know what the stat is, but it's something insane, like 1 billion to 1 that any of us exist.
It's in a song in Matilda the musical, I know that. The chances are, chances of existence are most infinitely small. So there is no dead statistic in there.
I mean, the fact that any of us are here is a miracle. So I hear you. And like I said, I've been through it, and I just know that. Yeah, so I really feel for you, because it really is one of those things that when you desperately want a baby and then you can't do something that you feel like, but this is what I'm made for. It really does. It takes a toll on your mental health as well, I think.
Yeah, I think because last time I got pregnant by accident, obviously I thought this time must be really easy, and it's not. But having a 5-month-old at your wedding, that is, I mean, Stanley was 18 months old. It probably would have been easier to have him at 5 months than it was.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, I call that the slug stage, because, you know, they can't really do anything at that point. I had a few friends whose babies were super advanced, of course, you know, walking at like 4 months old. But yeah, Oscar couldn't crawl or talk or do anything. So we actually ended up having a family friend come and kind of babysit him at the venue, so he got to be, you know, with us and have photos. But then I didn't want him to be like overwhelmed getting passed around or anything. So, you know, then there was a quiet little room where he could go and play and sleep and stuff.
So I didn't want it to fall to my mum or Sam's mum to look after him, or to me, obviously. Definitely not to me on my wedding day. So what we did is, I'd been to a barbecue like 2 years before, and I met a girl that worked in a local nursery, like a British girl who worked in a local nursery in Spain. So we literally had her come, because we were out in Spain for a week before. So she basically came for like 2 hours a day while we were there, and like got to know him.
Yeah.
And then he just like loved her. So then she babysat him for all 4 days of the wedding.
Wow.
Like Thursday night we didn't take him to the party, so she had him at home. Friday night she just came to the the barbecue and would be like, oh, Stanley, I think Stanley wants to go to bed, so I'm gonna take him back now. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna get Stanley some food. And we're like, amazing.
Can you come home with us?
Yeah. And then Saturday she was there all day, and again she'd be like, I'm gonna put him down for a nap now. And then Sunday, and she wasn't with us Sunday, but by Sunday nobody was drinking, so everyone was done. And I wanted someone to be legally responsible for him.
Yeah.
So I was like,
and you just know, right, this person has him. I think that was the thing with like them, you know, the idea of him getting passed around between friends and family. Everybody would have, you know, loved on him and looked after him. But I just wanted to know that, yeah, you're responsible for him, and I can actually try to be, you know, we were saying earlier about trying to have a conversation when your kids are around, and you can't. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say to anyone who's getting married, like, I know people think, oh, wedding nanny, it's very bougie and stuff. It's not a nanny. You're not signing up for a nanny for all your life. It is a babysitter, and I would 100% recommend that to anyone of you that's getting married, just so that you can enjoy your day, know that your child is looked after, and all your friends and family can as well, because it will inevitably fall. And people say, oh, I don't mind doing it. And they don't mind doing it until it's 10 o'clock and the shots come out and they can't have any.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I definitely and what you were saying about those introduction sessions as well, I think that's amazing, because, you know, you do it with nursery, and if they're going to be with them all day, I think that's, a great way to do it, to put your mind at rest as well.
He loved Ellie. Now, once you were a parent, how did you find becoming a parent?
I feel like I was destined to do this. I know that sounds really like cheesy and cliche, but I was one of those girls. I always wanted to be a mum, and I've always been very maternal. So I want to say it came kind of naturally. I also have 2 younger sisters, which I think helps, especially I call her my baby sister. She's actually like 30 now. She will always be my baby sister, but I used to tuck her in and pretend she was actually my baby. So I felt fully ready. But yeah, it ended up not being quite the process that I expected it to be.
What happened? Tell me.
Well, I think it was just with, you know, I was saying about how the fertility journey kind of affected my mental health. And then when I had Oscar, it was, you know, this miracle pregnancy that we didn't know we were going to have. We found out at our first fertility treatment that I was actually 9 weeks pregnant, which was, yeah, I just couldn't get my head around it. So I felt very anxious. And then I was anxious throughout my pregnancy. I had quite a traumatic birth. And so, yeah, it was just that, I don't know, I think I managed to suppress it a lot. And then once we had our wedding, it all, like, it all came out.
You can sweep everything under the rug, but one day someone will move the rug and it's all there.
Yes, you don't want that to, no. It's so, yeah, basically that was what happened. And so I think my mental health in that first year of having a baby, just, I didn't expect that.
No, I think a lot of people that I've spoken to who had trouble getting pregnant say that all you're concentrated on is getting pregnant and staying pregnant. And then when the baby comes, you're like, oh, I forgot about this bit.
Yeah.
Like my mind has been so like on it.
I think that about antenatal groups as well, though, don't you? Like it's so much preparation for the birth, and in relation to how, you know, your life goes with having a baby, the birth is such a small part and it's so important, and it can have such a lasting effect on you, as I've discovered. But it's like, okay, but when I take the baby home, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know, literally, what do I do? Because it's the most surreal experience, but there's no guidance with that.
See, my mum and my nan both used to say to me, I'm not trying to tell you how to be a mum. I'm like, no, tell me.
I literally need to know.
If I'm not doing something that you think I need to be doing, you need to tell me. And I do think that is a thing now. People are like, you know, trust your instincts. Things were different back then. People used to like have babies in caves. Do you know what I mean? There was no YouTube in caves. Do you know, in Victorian times, there was no baby gyms. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
no epidurals.
No, exactly. And I think like using that like lived experience from your friends and family like is the best thing ever. And if you have that, you know, I used to text all my friends and be like, hey, what did you do with this? And now my friends do it to me. And
See, I made the mistake. I was the first in my friendship group, so I didn't really have that. Luckily, I've got an older sister, so I was able to kind of ask her, and obviously my mum as well. But yeah, it's really difficult. And I think, you know, what you're talking about, having a village, I think also that definitely played a part in my experience too, because, you know, whilst, you know, I've got my sister, she lives 3 hours away. My mum, you know, at the time was working full time and had her own life. And so it was really difficult. I felt quite isolated and alone. And when you're in that little bubble and you desperately need like to live in the real world somewhat and still feel connected to people, I mean, that's kind of how social media came in for me, because it was my window into the world. And how I, you know, when you're saying about like asking friends, I would ask people on social media, and yeah, it was my lifeline, I think.
I had a lady and her husband come up to me at like a Christmas thing we were at when Stanley would have been like 8 months old. And I could tell that her baby was roughly the same age as Stanley. And she's like, I just want to say thank you so much. Our little boy is 2 weeks younger than Stanley, and we don't really know anyone else that has kids. So whenever we don't know what to do, my husband's like, go and see what Amy's done. Go and see what Amy's done.
Yeah, and I mean, that is part of what you get out of it. You know, I think it's for me, it's a two-way relationship, you know, as much as, you can be there to provide that people can look at and, you know, see what you've done and learn from it. I'm constantly in my DMs speaking to women and asking them what they did in a certain situation. And I get so much kind of encouragement, support, advice from them as well.
Yeah. Now, while we're on the subject of social media and stuff, now, were you like a lockdown person? Like, is that what started? Was that your chance to sort of start it?
So it's really weird because I've got a degree in advertising and marketing. So I had been doing social media for other brands. So it was kind of always part of my day-to-day life. I did it for my brother-in-law's small business, my sister's small business. So I'd had lots of experience. But yeah, during lockdown, I think that lots of people joined TikTok and took off. And it was just that thing of kind of sharing the mundane. But we were all in our little bubbles trying to still make childhood magical for our kids. And so sharing that, I gained quite a following quite quickly. But because of my experience, I knew that, you know, there was an opportunity that I could potentially make something of it. I had no idea what it would turn into, but I knew I needed to be able to do something because my previous job basically made it impossible for me to go back. And I was being quite resourceful, I think. And I was just like, I can do this.
But credit to you, you've made it still work. 'Cause I think a lot of people who sort of blew up during lockdown, like a lot of them are doing amazingly, like yourself. And a lot of people, I think, had a bit of like, I saw a TikTok the other day, and this lady said, we gave up our jobs because we were making loads of money on TikTok, and now 3 months later we're not anymore, and we're having to use food banks and stuff. So,
wow.
it's a stark reality that actually, it's not always a sustainable career, but the fact that you've managed to keep it going is amazing. But of course you have, because you are Parenting Creator of the Year.
Well, I don't know about that, but it's one of those things where it takes consistency and hard work all the time. And I don't think I've taken a day off in 4 and a bit years now, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I make it work around my kids' schedule, and I feel really grateful that I'm able to contribute to like our household finances, and that I was able to find something as well that was really fulfilling to me, because I always was career driven. And, whilst I loved being a stay-at-home mum, I knew that I needed to have something for me as well.
Yeah. And I think some people will say, won't they, like, oh, what do you mean not taking a day off? Like, what do you even think? 'Cause people say it to me all the time. I'm like, when your job is being you never get a day off, because your job's being you. Like,
do you know what it is? There's almost no point trying to explain it to people because
who don't want to understand it.
I think I heard this I heard this quote the other day that people will ask you if you have imposter syndrome because they don't think you're worthy of the success that you have. And so for me, I don't need to tell people what my job is, because I'm valid in my experience in the same way that everybody is valid. And there's no point getting into that debate of what is considered work, because at the end of the day, we'll pay our taxes. And
that's exactly what I said. I'm like, I pay my tax, pay my national insurance. And when people say, what have you even done since you left Love Island? I'm like, well, what do you think I've been living on for the last 5 years? Like when I put something about, because I love my job or something, someone said, well, what even is your job? What do you even do? And I was like, I didn't realise you had a job. And I was like, well, what do you think I've been living on? Like fresh air? Like, how do you think I pay for food for my children?
I think there's nobody who is more driven and entrepreneurial than a mum who needs to find a way to make something work. And my option, when there was talk of me going back to my previous job, was 5 days a week in Cardiff. I live in Bristol. I would have had to leave before my kids wake up and get home after they go to sleep, which I know is the experience for a lot of parents. But if you could find a way to not have to do that, wouldn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this thing, and like a lot of my friends are like, to be fair, before I met you, and to be fair, before I did it, I was a bit like, oh yeah, influencer. What even is that? And my friends are like, I didn't really realise how relentless it was until I met you when our babies were 6 weeks old, and you were like, yeah, I've got to go to London today because I've got to do this press day for this campaign that I'm doing. I'm like, yeah. It's a lot, but we are so fortunate to do what we do, and we love it. Now your growth obviously happened quite quickly. When was the first time you got recognised? Or I suppose because it was in lockdown, the mask.
Yeah, it was my hidden veil.
It was your hidden veil. You couldn't get recognised in Sainsbury's. Everyone had to say 2 weeks away.
Don't remember. It's really weird and bizarre to me, because obviously it's just me at home with my phone. So the fact that anybody would recognise me, I'm always really like, oh my God.
What have I done?
I'm so not cool if you meet me in real life. But yeah, I don't really remember. It was probably in like supermarket or something.
Mine was quite like full on, because it was like I went away to Love Island, like being Amy the air hostess. And then we pulled up outside Palmer Airport, and they went, if you don't want to do pictures, you don't have to. And I was like, who do you want a picture with me? Walked in and everyone was screaming. I was like, oh, okay.
Like, move aside, this is my moment.
I was like, oh, okay, hello everyone, hello. But yeah, it is crazy. The other day, my Pilates teacher, I had a new Pilates teacher, and she said, I really recognise you from somewhere. And I went, oh, are you from Worthing? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, my dad's the local funeral director. My mum does a lot of sport. Have you met her? And it took me a while. And she was going, no, I don't think it's from there. And I went, oh, I was on Love Island as well. And she was like, yeah, that's probably where it's from. And I was like, yeah. But I
never knew what to say.
In Worthing, I'm Amy Hart's daughter still. So in Worthing,
celebrity.
because he's like the local funeral director. He's like trustee of a couple of charities. He's big in the football, like local football scene, big in the local cricket scene, like knows everyone because he's drunk in pubs for the last 40 years. So I'm still Ian Hart's daughter rather than Amy Hart from Love Island.
I mean, wear that with pride.
I know. What would you say is the best things about your job?
I would say number one is the flexibility, because obviously my day-to-day life is centered around the kids. I get up, I do the morning run. My husband's a tradesman, so he's gone by 7:30. So being able to do that is such a blessing. And being able to do the school run, being able to go to an 11 o'clock. What is it? He plays.
Violin?
Hang on. Let's just say guitar. No, it's a ukulele.
Ukulele.
Being able to go to an 11.
It's the new recorder.
It is the instrument of the moment, but being able to go to a random 11 a.m. ukulele concert at school, I can do those things. So number one, I would say flexibility. And number two, obviously, opportunities that we do get. I don't know any other job that you kind of get those opportunities with that my kids directly benefit from. So that. I guess just being able to, I don't know, I always wanted to be like a TV presenter or something. And this is kind of my version of being able to do that and have full control over it. And I just really love it. I get up and I'm still excited to do it. And I think after 4 years, that's something to be proud of.
It is. And I think, opportunities are amazing. And I think the creativity, when I get like a brief through and they're like, we're happy for Amy to do whatever she wants. I'm like, right, I've got this idea. And normally I sit on a Zoom call with the brand. I'm like, I've had this idea. This is what I'm doing. They're like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah, definitely do that. And I get off and I call my agent. I'm like, yeah, I don't actually know how to do that. So I'm going to have to watch some YouTube videos like with editing and stuff. Like I did a job once and I was like, we could do a split screen of me with like 2 different products on each side and stuff. And they were like, we love that. That's amazing. And I was like,
and then you're like, I've got no idea how to
no idea how to do that. No. So I need to work that out.
Oh, I'm very low production.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think that that's on brand for me, low production, you know.
That is the beauty of TikTok though, isn't it? Like I feel like Instagram, you do have to be a bit more polished and it is like editing and caption stuff. TikTok, you can literally wake up in the morning before you even brushed your hair and be like, you're right. It's
I
amazing.
Brush my teeth. Yeah, no, I'm very low production. I try to keep it that way just because, you know, it's like someone said to me the other day, oh, you know, why aren't you doing longer form content on Facebook and YouTube and stuff? And it's like, I kind of want to, but also there's only so many plates you can keep spinning. And when you try to pick up a new one, something has to give. And I can't risk it being my role as a mum because that comes first. So yeah, I do what I can do. I'm not a fancy editor, so yeah.
See, I love YouTube. I love watching YouTube. I pay for all the subscriptions to all the streaming services and all I watch is people going to Disney on YouTube. People going to Target. It's literally all I watch. A travel day, watch someone else go through the airport. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
The riveting content that I find myself watching though sometimes, it's the most obscure things, but I don't know.
So because I love it, I love to make it, but I always say, oh, I wish I'd started my YouTube channel as soon as I left the villa. And everyone's like, in what time? Like literally, you did like 36 interviews in 14 days and then didn't have a day off for like 36 days. When were you going to do it?
You need a film crew following you around. That's what you need. Outsourced.
Like Katie Price back in the day. my live stream. And is there anything like not so great about the job that?
I guess it is just the fact that it is 24 hours a day, and sometimes it can feel a bit like you're on a hamster wheel and you can't get off.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, sometimes it does feel like that. But also I kind of am a bit of a workaholic. I've realised that about myself. I think when you're driven and you have a goal and you're doing something you love, it doesn't always feel like work. So it's a weird balance. But yeah, that's the only thing, if I could find something, it would be that.
Yeah, my husband keeps saying, this year, can we go away on a trip and you put your phone in the safe? And we don't do anything. He was like, you can disappear for a few days. Like, can we just do that?
It's the algorithm. You're a slave to it.
I know. But it's funny to talk about the hamster wheel. I do feel that. But I saw Olivia Attwood put a quote up the other day that said, don't complain about, or how can you complain about having too much on your plate when you came here to eat? And I was like, yes. And now whenever I get a bit stressed, I'm like, I came here to eat.
Yeah. I think that's
And my
the thing.
plate is full.
If it was easy, everybody would do it. And at the end of the day,
But it is easy. Throwing out a few Instagram stories every now and again, it's well easy. It's well easy, as my friends say to me. Now, you are famous for your mum hacks. Can you give me some good mum hacks? I've got a toddler. Give me some good mum hacks.
well, do you know the first mum hack that I ever shared that went viral? I actually went to B&M and I filmed it in the shop because I was past the nappy stage.
Right.
But did you know that the mats, actually, we all use them the wrong way up? You know the ones with the bumper edges? Like that? You're actually supposed to use them that way up because then if they have an accident, the water doesn't go on the carpet.
Oh.
It collects in the bumper.
We use it that way because it looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a pillow for them. They don't have their head on it, do they? So, yeah, it's supposed to be the other way up so that the three edges go at their feet and then any liquid can collect there.
Oh my God, I need to find that on your Instagram and share it to my story because people need to know that.
It was one of my very first. So it's funny because I look back now and I think, wow, I've improved a little bit.
What other stuff? Or not even for me, for any mums. What are your favourite mum hacks?
I love anything that just makes my life easier at any point in the day. So recently we just went to Disney and they make you carry your own passports through the airport, which gives me such anxiety because I have a 6-year-old who is quite a typical second child, Tasmanian devil, bless his heart. But the thought of him carrying such an important document did scare me a little bit. And when you're kind of like fiddling through all the pages. So we just put some stickers on the back page. Well, on the outside. Yeah. Don't put stickers on the inside of your passport.
You will get deported.
Definitely don't do that. But it meant that I could really quickly find whose passport was whose. They walked through with it. I took it back off them and, they're easy to peel off on the other side. So that was a great, simple one. But yeah, ones that are just really easy.
Yeah, did you enjoy your trip to Disney?
It was absolutely amazing. It was so good. It honestly is like the happiest place on earth for me.
What would be your biggest piece of mum advice?
Not to compare your journey, your feelings, just everything. I feel like the minute you do that, it really is the thief of joy, and you can start spiraling about, I'm not doing as good as this person. I think social media is a wonderful thing. I think it can be really bad for that though. So that's why I really try to show every aspect of my life. I don't ever try to glamorize it. I actually don't feel like I edit stuff in a different way for, Instagram. How I am is how you see me. And I think we need more of that because women do compare. And I think when it comes to something like being a mum, where it means that much to you, and we all just want to do our best, it can be really damaging that if you see somebody, being super organized or, this house is perfectly Instagrammable and you're like, you've got your massive pile of laundry that you've not touched for 3 weeks and you're feeling overwhelmed. I think that's, yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Now, if people want to follow you, you're Muddle Through Mummy on TikTok and Instagram.
I indeed, yeah.
Go and follow it. It's a very, very good page to follow, especially just for all the hacks, all the tips and the tricks. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been so lovely to talk to you.
And you.
That's it for Amy Hart's Mums Club this week. Thank you so much to Daisy for joining me. And if you want to keep up to date with Daisy and her family and everything they get up to, it's at Muddle Through Mummy on TikTok and Instagram. And if you want to keep up with my parenting journey, it's at Amy Hart XO on Instagram and at Amy Hart on TikTok. If you want to keep up with the podcast, it's at Amy Hart's Mums Club on both Instagram and TikTok. Don't forget, you can email me any questions or anything you want to say about the podcast, amyhartsmumsclub@news.co.uk. Next week, I'll be back with another fabulous guest to talk about the highs and lows of parenthood. Until then, I will speak to you soon.